So you're about to be born as a freshly minted baby in the midst of the Roman Empire in a small town a few miles away from Rome. Based on all the movies and shows you'd seen in heaven before you were born, you think your life is going to be pretty sweet, but actually it's not going to be sweet at all. You're in your mother's womb as she goes into labor, and you hear a lot of sharp screams coming from outside of your womb. "Just hold still," you hear a midwife say. "I can't, it's too painful," your mother says. As it turns out, your mother has no pain medication for this birth. No Xanax, no Percocet, no cocaine, just pure, raw, unfiltered childbirth. As soon as you start to exit your mother's womb, she finally utters one last thing under her breath. "I shall name him Sergius." And then she passes away. Yep, your mother, who only got to see you for like 4 seconds, is now dead. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention the fact that your dad already died 4 months ago in a skirmish outside of the village against some barbarians. But you don't even have time to think about that because you're now covered in olive oil, which was used as a lubricant to help get you out of that wound, and some of it's now in your lungs. Before you can even form your first thought, you've already contracted an infection. Miraculously, you survive the infection because Uncle Spartacus, or Sparty for short, takes you back to his house in order to raise you. He was your father's brother and vowed to take care of you no matter what happened. Luckily, Uncle Sparty loves you, but Auntie Cornelia isn't too happy to see another child be introduced into her home so abruptly. Yeah, sure, they make enough money to get by, but it's not like they have a ton of extra food to put on the table or clothes for you to wear. You're just given the scraps. Scraps of food and scraps of cloth that are left hanging around after the main children got what they needed. But now you're about 14 years old, and it's time for you to do something with your life. You're lucky enough to attend a school where you learn to read and write, which takes place in the corner of a marketplace on the outskirts of town. It takes you over 45 minutes to walk to class and another 45 minutes to walk back, in any type of weather that you can think of. Now that you're 14 years old, you have some decent knowledge about the world and are starting to learn some real skills like smithing. But on one particularly hot day on your way home from class, you hear some weird buzzing in your ear. At first you ignore it, but it starts to get really annoying, so you start to swat at it. Next thing you know, you trip and fall into a small pond, and now dozens of mosquitoes are swarming all around you. You try to run as fast as you can back home, but the mosquitoes bite you like 8 times in the back of the neck. As you fall asleep that night, you start to get really woozy, but try not to think anything of it. But in the middle of the night, you wake up and you're covered in sweat. It's pitch black and you can't see anything around you. You're stumbling in the dark, but eventually manage to light up a lamp. And you go to the bathroom and look at one of Auntie Cornelia's mirrors. Your face is palish yellow and you can barely breathe. You've now contracted malaria. It's agonizing. You're dehydrated and you can barely lift a finger without trembles emanating through your entire body. You roll around in bed for hours while your family tries their best to take care of you, but truthfully, you need to go to the hospital. Oh wait, hospitals don't really exist for you. Hospitals are really only available for those in the military and those with a lot of money, and you're just some random boy. But what makes matters worse is that Uncle Sparty, you know, the guy who took care of you from the time you were born, he also gets bit by a mosquito and contracts malaria at the same time. So now both of you are in dire straits. Miraculously, you recover from the disease, but Sparty wasn't so lucky. He dies after fighting it for 3 weeks. Everybody blames you for giving Sparty the disease. Even though malaria can't be spread from person to person like a virus or a bacterial infection, nobody understood that at this time, so they just pile it all on you. After Uncle Sparty is cremated into a pile of ashes, your entire family turns against you. You're the target of everyone's grief, and eventually they just kick you out of the house, leaving you now as a homeless beggar on the street. Being weak and alone, you eventually catch the eye of a slave trader. He asks, "Who does this boy belong to?" And nobody answers him. He then drags you into his cart and brings you up to the slave market. At first, nobody wants to buy you since you're so frail and weak, but eventually you're sold to a blacksmith named Marcus, a man who is as unyielding as the iron he shapes. Your days are filled with brutal labor, hauling coal, stoking fires, and enduring harsh punishments. You study Marcus's every move, learning the craft of smithing, and in rare moments at nighttime, you practice smithing on your own, honing your own skills. Years pass, and you're no longer the weak boy who stumbled into the streets a few years ago, and now you dream of freedom. One day, while delivering a bunch of swords to the barracks, you see soldiers training. The sight stirs something deep inside of you, memories of your father. For the first time in years, you feel a sense of purpose. That night during the festival, you escape. You make your way to the barracks, seeking the recruitment officer, but the recruiter mocks your appearance. But he lets you have a sparring match to see what you're made of. In the sparring match, you surprise everybody, fighting with skill and determination forged in those years of suffering. The recruiter then nods and says, "Welcome to the Legion." Life as a soldier pushes you to your limits, but you thrive. Your comrades see your father's fire in you, and you earn their respect. For the first time, you feel like you actually belong somewhere. You're now stationed in a small town on the outskirts of the empire where you meet Livia, a weaver's daughter with a kind heart and dreams of visiting Rome. Her laughter becomes a light in your dark world, and your bond deepens. You promise to travel the world with her when your service ends, but fate would have other plans. A barbarian rage strikes the village. You rush to find Livia, but the chaos is overwhelming. You spot her trying to lead her family to safety, only to see an arrow strike her in the back. She collapses to the ground, and then you pick her up. Then her faint voice says, "Sergius, please travel the world for me." Tears blur your vision as you nod and say, "I promise." Then her final smile disappears and slowly slips away. Her death fuels your resolve to protect others. But months later, during another skirmish, your legion is ambushed by the same barbarian tribe that took Livia's life. But you're captured, bound, and interrogated. The enemy leader, the same man who led the raid, demands you reveal the location of all the Roman villages. Despite the torture, you refuse to speak. You say, "You've already taken everything from me. I have nothing else to lose. My father and now my lover are both gone to your hands. There's nothing you could do to make me speak." Out of frustration, the leader then sentences you to death. The next morning, you're dragged to the center of the camp where some of the barbarians await. Your hands are bound, your body is bruised, but you stand tall and proud to be a Roman soldier. The leader steps forward with a torch in his hand and says, "Any last words, Roman?" You meet his gaze and say, "Rome will outlive you all." He then drops the torch under your feet and the fire spreads throughout your entire body. As the flames rise, the heat sears your skin, but you don't scream or yell. Your defiance inspires your comrades, watching you from the shadows. They scamper off, then the entire empire hears about your sacrifice. Back in the village, they erect a statue in your honor. At its base, an inscription reads, "He gave everything for the people he loved, and in fire, he became unbroken." And although your life was very short, it was a very tragic life. You had to deal with death, sickness, poverty, slavery. I mean, honestly, the list goes on. It's a miracle that you even survived childbirth to even tell this tale. But unfortunately, this is where your journey ends.